Come live and work in Natchitoches.
Hey, come on, live and work in Natchitoches.
Come on and live and work in Natchitoches.
We just welcome everybody who is willing to work with the children in a positive way. So we're looking for people who want to be a part of a winning team. We're looking for those people who are motivated to do what's right and what's best for children. We want to run ahead of the pack. We don't want to do the mediocre thing. So we're working hard to get those people.
The most vital resource that we have is our young people. That's our students, and their education is what's going to take them forward in life. And we just feel it a calling on our lives to be a part of that in the most positive way that we can.
Our students need us. They need that support. We want teachers who are here, who are dedicated to our students, and we know that they deserve that. And so here at our school, we want the best of the best, and they deserve the best of the best.
Here in Natchitoches Parish, we're focusing on our #1 priority this year is student learning. And so we are working with our teachers and all of our students. We're working on goal setting. We are having them focus on setting their own goals for personal growth, both teachers and students. Hopefully is going to lead to student growth for all of our students.
But the other thing is we have beautiful Cane River Lake, we have Front Street, we have the Christmas Festival, we have meat pies, we have so much going on that's positive, and we're here to do the right thing because we truly believe that children come first.
It is important to have a facility that you're proud of. Not only to have a classroom to learn in, but a facility that you can say, I'm happy to be there. Every one of our schools is under construction of some form. I love this community, and I think this is a great place to grow up and live and work.
I'm a product of the Natchitoches Parish School System, so I think the teachers and principals who I learned from did a great job. I really applaud what teachers are doing to make sure our students are reaching those targets that I know have been set for them.
Regardless of where they start, we're going to grow them and improve them in their skills so that when they leave us, they're prepared for a fulfilling life. In whatever role they choose, we're going to prepare them to be able to compete and go after all of the goals they've set forth in their life.
The school district having formed partnerships with the education department, I know that those teachers strive. They find a way to help ensure that those individuals are able to learn.
Come on and live and work in Natchitoches.
Come on and live and work in Natchitoches.
Come live, work, and grow here in Natchitoches Parish School Board.
Come on, live and work in Natchitoches.
I commute about 30 minutes every day because I believe in the mission of Natchitoches Parish. I believe that we are always pushing forward, that we always have a purpose, that we are always in a growth mindset of transitioning forward. If you're the person who wants to be a part of something fabulous, you want to be on the ground floor, you want to make an impact in education, you are the person that needs to be in Natchitoches Parish. Live, work, and teach in Natchitoches.
Lives are waiting to be transformed. The only thing missing is you. We're looking for motivated teachers who are ready to be a positive force in their students' lives. You'll teach in our newly renovated schools that you'll be proud to be a part of. Ready to make your new home along the beautiful Cane River? Ask us about our relocation stipend. Our students deserve the best teachers. They deserve you. Live, work, grow in Natchitoches. We'll see you soon.
There are faculty members that have seen it all. I know they have my back. I know they can assist me in any way possible, and not only just emotional support, but that instructional, constructive feedback that helps me become not only a better teacher, but a better leader. If you're anything like me, you're at a crossroads in your life, but you know that you want to make a difference, don't put it off. Go for it. Come live, learn, teach, and grow in Natchitoches Parish.
Come live and work in Natchitoches.
Hey, come on, live and work in Natchitoches.
Come on and live and work in Natchitoches.
We just welcome everybody who is willing to work with the children in a positive way. So we're looking for people who want to be a part of a winning team. We're looking for those people who are motivated to do what's right and what's best for children. We want to run ahead of the pack. We don't want to do the mediocre thing. So we're working hard to get those people.
The most vital resource that we have is our young people. That's our students, and their education is what's going to take them forward in life. And we just feel it a calling on our lives to be a part of that in the most positive way that we can.
Our students need us. They need that support. We want teachers who are here, who are dedicated to our students, and we know that they deserve that. And so here at our school, we want the best of the best, and they deserve the best of the best.
Here in Natchitoches Parish, we're focusing on our #1 priority this year is student learning. And so we are working with our teachers and all of our students. We're working on goal setting. We are having them focus on setting their own goals for personal growth, both teachers and students. Hopefully is going to lead to student growth for all of our students.
But the other thing is we have beautiful Cane River Lake, we have Front Street, we have the Christmas Festival, we have meat pies, we have so much going on that's positive, and we're here to do the right thing because we truly believe that children come first.
It is important to have a facility that you're proud of. Not only to have a classroom to learn in, but a facility that you can say, I'm happy to be there. Every one of our schools is under construction of some form. I love this community, and I think this is a great place to grow up and live and work.
I'm a product of the Natchitoches Parish School System, so I think the teachers and principals who I learned from did a great job. I really applaud what teachers are doing to make sure our students are reaching those targets that I know have been set for them.
Regardless of where they start, we're going to grow them and improve them in their skills so that when they leave us, they're prepared for a fulfilling life. And whatever role they choose, we're going to prepare them to be able to compete and go after all of the goals they've set forth in their life.
The school district having formed partnerships with the education department, I know that those teachers strive. They find a way to help ensure that those individuals are able to learn.
Come on and live and work in Natchitoches.
Come on and live and work in Natchitoches.
Come live, work, and grow here in Natchitoches Parish School Board.
Come on, live and work in Natchitoches.
Good afternoon and welcome to the committee meeting of the Natchitoches Parish School Board. And we will open this meeting with a roll call.
Mr. Danzy? Here. Mr. Matoir? Here. Mr. Benefiel? Here. Mr. Garner? Here. Mr. Harris? Present. Mrs. Guidros? Here. Mrs. Broadway?
Here.
Mrs. McGaskey? Here. Ms. Palmer? Ms. Phelps?
Here.
And Ms. Harvey?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. So guys, the first thing I want to talk about real quick before we get into the agenda is our microphones. And I know you're so tired of me telling you to talk into your microphones, but last month I had to go back and watch our meeting and nothing can be heard unless you're Emile Matoir at all or your face is right in your mic. So please speak directly into the microphone. I won't micromanage your life, but if you want your constituents to hear you and the public to hear you, please scoot as far up as you can and put the mic in your face. Yeah, it can scoot very far up, but Emile's good. Okay. So we do not have a school reporting to us tonight. We will have that Thursday, and it's NVA, so we'll be looking forward to that presentation. And we will start off with our superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a few things. I want to first off, this month, as Ms. Page, I won't totally steal her fire, will tell you this is the month of hiring. But there are two very significant hires that we're very excited about, and that's Ms. Diana Curtis, new principal at Provençal, and Ms. Carla Renter, our new principal at Lakeview, and they've hit the ground running. We're very excited about what they're doing, and they're just they're rock stars. So excited about that and what they're going to do for the future of those two schools. Also want to remind you something from last board meeting. Y'all asked us to develop a grant policy. Me and Mr. Wascom are still developing that. We have a draft that we're working with, but it's just not fully fleshed out yet. And so we hopefully will bring that to y'all in the August meeting that will kind of address all concerns from that discussion about grants. Online registration started since our last meeting. That's something that I had been told how important it was to a lot of the folks around here, but I did not realize it until I saw that it was shared, I think, close to 200 times on Facebook, and just everyone's super excited about it. There's a lot of stuff still to be done with that. We need to keep pushing it to our folks. There's been a slight frustration, I think, on some people's parts that, you have a 10th grader at Natchitoches Central, and you go to do this, and it asks you to put in your birth certificate and things of that nature. That is not something that is done by mistake. What it is this first year as we're doing online registration, these documents have to be put on the digital platform. And so it's not saying that you haven't given a birth certificate in years past, but as a friend explained it very well, yes, that may be one or two students that you have to put in, but think of the 5,600 students that we would have to digitize these documents. So we're asking for the public's help in that. If you don't feel comfortable with that, just call us and we can walk you through it. But overall, the online registration, the first few weeks of it have been a success, so we're real excited about that.
Is there a deadline for that?
We would preferably like it before school, so that's why we're pushing it now. But anytime people go on there and can update, we're going to accept it.
Okay.
But definitely, preferably before school. Backpack giveaway this year, Thursday, July 21st at 3:30. It'll be at our media center. If you ever come by during that, you'll see a line going down the road out there. We always sell out within, I say sell out, give away all of our backpacks within the hour, so please take advantage of that. Let's see. Wanted to touch on summer school. Summer school this year, it ended at the end of June. There was our ESY for our extended school year students with IEPs that has continued up until this past week. But it was a huge success, probably the largest summer school I would imagine in recent history. And that was by design because we had to offer that to our UIR and CR schools. About 1,000 students participated at some point. Probably around 950 participated consistently for the entirety of the 4 weeks. And I can tell you from a standpoint of student management, busing, learning, personnel, it was overall just a resounding success. I know we put a lot of pictures out there of, it was called the Summer Rise program, a lot of enrichment. We had, PE and art and other, I think we even had yoga at one of our schools, just different things that folks could do. And overall, I think it was just really beneficial and helps to recover some of that learning loss that we all talk about now post-COVID or since COVID. Also, I want to tell you that, as I mentioned last month, and we are continuing to have discussions about school safety. We had, and I think this is a topic that Madam President will discuss later tonight or Thursday, but we had a really great conversation with a lot of key stakeholders in the community, the mayor, the chief of police, the sheriff, the DA, just all sorts of folks who came in, and we really had a really robust conversation about school safety. We've also been discussing it with our facilities management team, Mr. Shirley, and looking at getting knock boxes, which is an ability to give police and fire quick access to our buildings. Also putting some greater security implementation and technology in some of the schools. So overall, I always tell people they think we don't do anything in June and July. June and July are probably the folks in this room's busiest 2 months, and we are wrapping up our summer schedule, and we look forward to inviting students here in the next, I hate to tell them this, but 3.5 to 4 weeks, and we're excited for a great school year. Hopefully this will be the first one in a few years that starts with little or no speed bumps from outside things. So that's my superintendent report for this month.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Dr. Eloy?
No question. No question, but I would like to mention that one of our principals from our parish passed away on, I think, yesterday, and that is Mr. Ernest Morgan, who was my principal down in
Campty.
At Campty.
Thank you for letting us know, and we'll keep his family in our prayers.
The backpack giveaway is Thursday, July 21st at 3:30, and it will be in the media center, and you do not have to get out of your vehicle. It's just going to be a wraparound line.
And the kids that attended summer school automatically the grades will be, how does that work to help improve them for the upcoming year?
So there's different reasons you would attend summer school. Some students attend summer school because it's a grade issue. They failed some courses. Some of it could be for attendance issues. And so what that happens is once they're finished with summer school, their completion of summer school, that data goes to the school building level committee, or as we refer to it, SBLC committee. And then they determine the movement forward, whether that's progression or retention. And that is conveyed to the parents via a meeting with the SBLC team, also with a letter and things of that nature. But that's all within a meeting that is collaborative with the parents. So those are ongoing right now.
Okay.
Dr. Eloy, Madam President.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Eloy, when we do start implementing these school security plans, and is there a way that we can invite our sheriff department partners to evaluate and grade the performance of these schools? We're not knocking anyone, but we know the first time usually there's some, and we have a tremendous amount of new principals that did not go through
the large amount of training that these past principals that are retired have gone through. We know we're supposed to have these drills. We know we're supposed to do that, and we try not to do it and upset children. But I think if we're going to call attention to the safety of what we're trying to pull together, we also need to have some critique on what we're doing and how we're doing it. And we know we don't want to release all those plans to the public because that's part of what our security plan is. But I really think we ought to have someone there critiquing what's going on.
Yes, sir. So what I would say is you're 100% correct. We have individual school plans, which I have all those on my computer, and we've been reviewing those over the past month. We also have a district-wide plan that literally addresses crisis events, anything from lightning to the spread of anthrax in the mail. I mean, it's that in-depth. It's around 40 pages. I have Ms. Jennifer Ingram looking those over currently in-house. When those are complete, we are going to send those over. I think the last person who reviewed those for us was Captain Titano over the Sheriff's Department. So we send those over to them. We've reached out to LSU, and they have not gotten back with us yet, but they are offering a free service where they use school security experts to review plans as well. I have requested that because they sent us the email saying we're offering that. I have yet to hear back from my alma mater, and I don't know if it's got lost in translation, but we hope that they will be reviewing them as well. And what I can do is after those have been reviewed in-house by myself, then Ms. Ingram, and then by whoever at the Sheriff's Department or City Police, then we can also offer that up to the board to show y'all as well. Because I agree with you. I don't think that necessarily needs to be for public consumption because some of those routines and there's certain codes you use for trespasser on campus, and you don't necessarily want to divulge all those things. But those are definitely things that I think we can generically share with the public and then give to the board as well, so y'all are aware of what we're doing. And
Madam President, and to echo what you said, I just got a message from the Natchitoches Times that they can't hear the board members. So let's amp up whatever volume we need to turn up. Let's turn it up. One other thing, Dr. Eloy, when you do and when we do and how we pull this together, I would love for you to talk to the fire marshal and have that fire marshal there when all of these plans are pulled together, because the best laid plans the fire marshal can throw a monkey wrench into immediately.
Yes, sir. So this plan, when we talk about the district plan, it's supposed to encompass any sort of thing, so we would want them to look at it as well. I will tell you, and I meant to mention this before I stopped last time, is Natchitoches Central actually had the police training at their facility yesterday, because not only do we want staff to know, but we want, if the worst thing would ever happen, we want police, sheriff, etc., to have a familiarity with our facilities. So not only is this a 40-page document that tells you all this stuff, it also has a list of every person you need to get in touch with, whether it be district or school level. It also has the floor plans of every school, and this is a document that we can share with the city police. It's a planning book for them to know, hey, we're not in the building, but we know what's going on. We know who we need to get in touch with. We know who's in what classroom, all those type things. So we're trying to hit everything, but we're also trying to not make it a 100-page document, but it's definitely something that from the experts, we want them to meticulously look through it and find holes and issues that
the fire marshal can find device problems. And so anything that we start looking for doors and things like that and barricades and whatever goes through the process, let's get those people involved early in the process.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I do believe you mentioned the LSU initiative at the last board meeting, and I'm just assuming they're inundated with requests.
I would
if
hope
this
so
is statewide.
because this was sent to us from LDOE that it's a free service where they were going to review our plans, and I within the first week I emailed that email and said Natchitoches Parish wants you to review this.
Right.
Who do I send it and when, where, and how? And I've yet to hear back, so I'll just have to come back around on that.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Madam President and Superintendent Eloy, if the kids have never gone through a drill, how are they going to know what to do in the first place?
So specifically, if we're talking about, are we talking about active shooter drills?
Whether it's active shooting, whether it's tornado, or any of the other drills that are
Yes, sir. So part of this 40-page document is also, there are certain state laws, and off the top of my head, I can't remember the exact number, but you have to do so many tornado drills a year. You have to do so many fire drills a year. In terms of active shooter, what we typically do, we don't do an active shooter drill. We do a lockdown drill, because lockdown can be the same for any number of things. And when you do a lockdown drill, students have to be prepared to, everyone has to be in a classroom. You close and lock the door, which doors should be locked at all times anyways, even when a teacher's teaching. And they go to what we call the hard corner of the classroom, and that's the corner where even if you're looking into the window, no one can see, etc. Principals are going to have to do those drills, and that's part of this document, that they will have to do these so many points in a year, and they will have to fill out the paperwork that says we did do this, in order to ensure that kids know what to do. Because if the first time you're doing this is during a crisis, how well are you going to do it? You're already probably, your blood pressure, your what's it called, your anxiety, all those things are happening. So you need to have that muscle memory to do it. So we are going to be, the word's not encouraging, mandating that our principals do these drills throughout the year.
And that information is reported to the state?
There's some information, like fire drills, I know are reported to the state. In terms of lockdown drills, that's really, there's not mandatory things with those type things, but the fire pieces are something that's managed by the fire marshal and things like that, and you have to do all that. And we're trying to, we want to have all these drills to be part of that same type of design. Like, you need to, we don't need to be doing it every day, but once a quarter, something of that nature, where students know what do I do during a lockdown, what do I do during a tornado, and a lot of those things are going to be similar. So you can do one or two of those and probably cover a bunch of topics at the same time.
Okay, any other questions about the superintendent's report?
Dr. Ela, Madam President, I have a question. What about the exceptional children? We're going to need extra.
So
for them.
what we typically do with our students with exceptionalities is whenever they're placed, those who are not in inclusion classes, so those who are in like special classrooms, we choose those classrooms specifically to, when something like that occurs, we can respond to it in a easier fashion. You're not putting that in the back hallway on the second floor, away from an elevator and things of that nature. You're putting it maybe closer to an exit, in an area where they can get help from other teachers. But those teachers specifically, they have to have a plan that's not only the plan, but it's how does this plan apply to my students who, are in wheelchairs or have all sorts of different things, and how do they respond? A student with autism, how are they going to respond to an alarm? Are they going to understand the threat as much? So that's something that we have to be we have to get more granular with our response to those folks, and really bring them in and say, okay, this is what's going on. Say it's a tornado drill. How does that look different in your classroom? And they might tell us, well, this year with this group of kids, it's going to look very similar because my kids, they understand that and they get it, and we've worked with them through that. It's going to be a year-to-year thing, because next year they may have a group of kids where they say, we've really had to cover this almost on a daily basis, right, as like a social skill almost on their IEP or something like that. So that's really getting with the principals and getting with the desk department and saying, okay, here's this huge document. How does this look particularly or unique to these classes? And that's where we bring in the desk department, and really, it's similar to what Mr. Benefield said. You want every entity looking at this, whether it's the fire marshal or the desk department or any number of people, because what I found when we make these things, they look beautiful and they look great and we're all happy with them, but then there's going to be that one person who's like, they have a different perspective or a different situation, and they can see the holes that we don't see, because I don't deal with a special education class every day. Those teachers do, and they
Right.
can answer that a lot better. But we are going to definitely reach out and make sure that they help us in this process.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. Moving along on the agenda, item number 3, old business. 3A, demolition of Head Start building on MLK Drive. Emil Matwire.
Yeah, I was wanting to know where we at on the building. I know we've been discussing with the building, and look like this building is just steady costing us money. They try to secure it, they pulling the fence down and different things. And I would like to see us start the process of have this thing, torn down. We're working, I know we're gonna have to have it, get the asbestos out of it. And I was just thinking, we got them down at Clutcherville, maybe they might give us a better deal. They already are in Natchitoches Parish to come on up here to that and get it out of there. Yeah, with that. And that's what I was just wanting to see if we could start the process of advertising for bids to tear it down or where we are.
Personally, it's a matter of how much it costs. As you know, it costs about $400,000 to tear down Clutcherville. $374 was the bid, but then actually we have to pay the consultants who oversight for DEQ to make sure they do their tear down correctly. So it's going to end up costing us $400,000 to do Clutcherville. Honestly, we only have it in our budget for one a year. I mean, we've got this one coming up, and we've got some other issues, some other old facilities in the past that might be a problem. But it's definitely, if we could wait 1 year at this time, we could have it all ready to go to start tearing down this time next year, because it would then be on next year. See, because the Clutcherville delayed so long, it actually got kicked into this year we're in now. And because none of the bills have come through. And so I would prefer to just do one of these a year, because otherwise it's going to be almost $800,000, $900,000 worth of effort to tear these two major facilities down.
Could we just maybe get somebody to give us, to see what it would cost to do it, where we'd have halfway a ballpark figure, and it might not would cost that much? And you're saying with Clutcherville, it really and truly shouldn't be coming out, it'd be coming out of general fund, but Clutcherville, when they closed it, they had over $500,000 in BRE money, so we could use that money, and the money what been being budgeted for Clutcherville, budgeted for this building, because it wouldn't be costing, it'd be costing the taxpayer something, but it's not coming out of the Natchitoches tax money, because Clutcherville already had all that money in that BRE thing. So because
I don't charge off to the BRE funds either way. It's usually a general fund demolition.
Yeah, but that money was moved from Clutcherville to general fund, so that if we couldn't have moved the money from Clutcherville, it'd been just sitting down there, you wouldn't be able to budget that money for anything anyway. So really and truly, should have went to Clutcherville. With that, and I was just concerned to see if we could do it. And you're saying with the price, until we get somebody to look at it and say what it's gonna cost, it might not even cost as much as Clutcherville, because it's not as big as Clutcherville. But it might be a whole lot more than Clutcherville because of the price. Everything have went up. That's why. Until we see what it's gonna cost us to budget it, we don't actually know what the budget is for.
Did that money not follow the kids?
No.
It didn't? It stayed in the general
What are you talking
fund?
about?
The BRE money, it didn't follow it there. Because when they voted on it, they voted on it to move it to province, and I told them you couldn't move money from one seven to the other thing, but I didn't know what I was talking about until they decided to try to move, and then they decided it had to be in general fund. You could move it from any of the district to general fund, but you can't move it from one district to another district.
It's working. Okay.
So at the very least,
the money with the BRE 6 was moved back into the general fund. The way it was done was old bills that could have qualified to go through BRE. We worked this out with the auditors last year. The money was transferred back into general funds.
But I think if we proceed with just getting a price, that doesn't bind us.
Because there's asbestos all over the place, it's more to it than that. You just can't go with a contractor and walk around the place.
Yeah, but I'm saying a price for we know how long Clutcherville took us. I mean, we started this conversation. So even if we get a price for abatement and for demolition, that doesn't necessarily, I don't know how long that price will last, but it would give us a ballpark of roundabout, I would imagine.
It's about $10,000 to hire a consultant to nail down, and also to put out a bid, start putting out a bid process, and to see where the numbers would be. gonna be about $10,000 to spend to do that.
Because, Madam President,
Yes, sir.
because even if you sell this property, you still gotta abate the.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, you gotta do all of that.
Once again, I totally agree this property needs to be torn down or abated, or I totally agree. My question is timing on money. You know, Clucheville's been sitting there for 4 years. This property's been sitting there for numerous years. It's just all of a sudden, we're all doing it all at once, and it's a little tough on the finances. If we have a significant surplus, and this year we just ended, then it will be a decision at that point in time of where the priority is. We can take a look at it. I don't know the close of books yet at June 30, but if there's a significant surplus, then we could readdress this probably as early as next board meeting. But I need to know where our surplus is. If it's really close to the end of the rope here, you know, I don't want to do that. I don't think it will be. I think it'll be significant, but our MFP money was culled back. Also, I'm concerned whether our sales taxes will stay growing at 20%, because we had 2 months where they were just 3% growth, but in the last month, as I'm getting ready to present, there's a 20% growth again. So if all those things happen, we'll have the money. The question becomes just the timing. I cannot commit to y'all. I can go ahead and pull it all together and have all this ready to go, but once again, to be fair to the vendor, if they bid today and we don't pull the trigger for 6 months, is that still fair with all the difference in prices? And they would just have to determine whether they want to accept it or not. We just have to work on that with that vendor. But it will, a consultant, I have to hire an asbestos consultant who identifies everything. Then we have, it's a process to go, quite a process to go through the bidding process. It's much more extensive than our normal bidding process. But if y'all want to go ahead and approve me to go ahead and get that bid out, I'll be glad to do that. But we do need to do 2 things. First, declare it surplus, and then open it up for me to take it out to bid. But I can tell you, if we have a significant surplus, then it will be a choice that will be made with Dr. Eloy and I, and also as far as y'all on the finances, this is a goal that we need to do this year, because we still have to reserve that $400,000. Essentially, I'm seeing, as Emil is seeing, the $400,000 we moved into general as being the money I'm going to use to tear down Clucheville. So that's basically a net wash. In the past, though, when I did move it from the BRE 6 into the general, I was kind of hoping for some help for Provençal. Provençal only gets $115,000 in the BRE, and I signed a purchase order yesterday. It's going to consume 20% of that number for emergency work. And we you know, it's like Provençal is vastly underfunded for its needs. This is the only school that is that way. So I was kind of holding that $400,000 I got from Clucheville in reserve for any help that's needed. But now I'm seeing that we're going to have to use that $400,000. So let's just see where things are at. Please, like, if y'all could give me 1 more month and put it under old business for next month. Let's see where we're at. Or y'all can go ahead and give me permission to put it out for bid. And we need to declare it surplus.
I don't have no problem with waiting till next month. Mainly what I don't want to just steady sitting like Clucheville, and just steady more and more, and different here. We are having more people breaking in, like you say, they're pulling the fence down. It's gonna wind up that somebody's gonna get hurt, then it's gonna cost us more than what it's gonna cost to tear it down.
I totally agree.
It should be a report somewhere. I know
we have an asbestos report.
It shouldn't be that old, because parish government did one when Head Start declared that it was worse shape, that they didn't want to put kids in it because it had so much asbestos in it and so much damage. So there should be a report somewhere in the last.
I've got it.
Okay,
I can send it to everybody, but I mean, it's a lot of hot spots. It's true.
It's
one of those things. Once we do the remediation, not much left of the building.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm tired of getting the calls from different people, and I'm calling you, you know what I'm saying?
The same here.
And I don't want to, well, anyway.
Well, another thing is when we decide this, let's put a plan together. let's execute that plan. Let's don't go back and forth and herky-jerky like we did with Clutchville. And let's don't get caught having to have a call meeting because we're running out of time on a quote. Let's put a plan together, let's execute that plan, and let's make it happen.
I'll be glad to.
Well, actually,
I still need two things, though, by Thursday. Declared surplus and permission to bid.
Okay, we can
you know, we could come up with a more thorough plan that would include our Natchez building that we're about to have some issues with as well. So we do have other facilities that actually have people reporting to them every day with health issues of the building too. So we might want to look at all the buildings with issues, prioritize those, and then start that plan.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And we need to, with that, go ahead and put it on the agenda that we declare this place over there surplus for Lee to start his process.
It's gonna take about 2 full months to get bids in.
Do y'all want to do that Thursday?
Thursday, put it that we can vote to declare it as surplus.
And then permission to bid.
And in the meantime, please keep it mowed. That'll help a little bit.
That's $3,800 was the quote to clean it up.
I'm just asking for it to be mowed. I understand there's some costs involved. I just need to ask that it be mowed because we're getting complaints from people in the neighborhood, and that's the least we can do. We do have a contract with a mowing service that does mowing in all the schools.
Yes, ma'am, that was not part of the contract, so that's why it's,
That's why it's $3,800,
yeah.
because we have to do it outside of the contract. It's not like they're mowing it monthly. So that's an extra cost on the back of what we're already paying.
Get a few gallons of Roundup and go over there and spray it. You won't have to worry with the grass. It look bad anyway, so it ain't gonna look no different with dead grass. You won't have to worry with that for next year.
Can't do that.
Well, it might help it look better with brown grass around it.
It surely would.
So we have that being added to the agenda on Thursday, being declared surplus. Is there any other old business to come before the board? Okay. Item number 4, new business. New business for Thursday night. We will be discussing the safety of schools initiative, school safety initiative. And all of the board members received an email, if you'll please review it. And I'm sure you'll have lots and lots of questions. And Thursday will be a deep dive into school safety. Okay. Informational reports.
Ms. Phelps, will that just be a discussion item?
Just a discussion item, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Okay. Hi, Ms. Washington, how are you doing?
How you doing?
Good afternoon, everybody. Coming from transportation, we finished summer school on the 28th. We've started, working on getting routes situated for the new school year. As of now, we've brought in 5 new drivers, so we should be good on drivers for it. I've been in touch with Ms. Pinckney about online registration, so she and I have been communicating about that. So as soon as we get information in, then we can create routes so parents won't have to be worried, where their kid's gonna go or what bus or what time or anything. So as soon as she give us the information, then we'll be able to finish our end of it and have everything going. So we have been communicating with that as well. And just getting ready for the new school year coming in.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Washington?
I just make sure all air conditioning is working on the buses when we start.
Trust me.
And if it's not, don't put the kids on it because it's
we
rough.
should be getting some new buses in, so we're bringing some of the old ones out and bringing some new ones in. So the new ones we're getting, they're making sure the air conditioners are getting installed in those as well. So that is a top priority because it is hot out there.
Yeah, it's hot.
Hot.
Yes, it is.
Now, we used to ride buses without air conditioning.
I did too.
Now
I
they
did
can't,
too, but
they
I
got
got
air
accustomed to air
conditioning.
conditioning.
Not now. Yeah.
Yeah, I done got accustomed to air conditioning, so I
make
just
sure
can't
we got air
imagine.
conditioning for the kids. Yeah.
Ms. Washington, I had a call from an individual that's interested in applying, and I said you had an online price list. Your Facebook page or whatever, Can you make sure that it has a number that's ready to jump off the screen? Because they said, who do we need to call? And that's it.
Okay, yeah, I will make sure I do that, but for everybody that's listening, you can go to eccoride.com, ECCORIDE.com, and it is an application there, and as soon as you finish your application, it comes straight to us, and we'll give you a call.
EccoRide.com. There we go.
Is it linked with the school boards?
That's what I was just
That's
writing in
what
my note.
I think we should link it.
Yeah.
That's what I was just writing in my notes. If it is not, and I can't
I don't
recall,
think it's linked.
we can take care of that tomorrow, first
Okay.
thing.
Right.
Ms. Washington, I wanted to share a compliment with you. I had to
Okay.
call Echo Ride on behalf of someone else to get your email address, I think. And the person that answered the phone was so friendly.
Well, good.
I mean, she
good.
was just amazing. I started to offer her a job, but I'm like, no.
Don't do that. Don't take my help.
She was great, and I just wanted to pass that along to
Okay,
you. Super
thank you.
professional.
I will let the ladies in the office know.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Okay, thank you so
Okay,
much.
Bye-bye.
Okay, 6B, Child Nutrition Update, Shauna Hicks.
Good evening, everybody. A quick update on the Child Nutrition Department. Summer school was very good to us. We were able to have an additional $75,000 claim that we otherwise wouldn't have had this year for the month of June. We did receive bids for paper and cleaning products as well as for milk in the month of June, and that is going to be on the agenda for adoption or approval by you guys on Thursday evening. The milk is an all-or-nothing bid. The paper and cleaning products are a line item bid, but I will be asking you to approve that in Globo so we do not have to read through the whole paper and cleaning products. Both of those bid analyses are attached to board docs so that you can review them and you can see which different companies were awarded. During the summer, the state was back out and we received a sponsor review as well as a site review by the state during summer school. I'm happy to report both of those went very well, and our auditor was very pleased with what they found. We had no major citations. I also wanted to report that the school nutrition leadership training I attended at Ole Miss during the month of June was wonderful. It was a very jam-packed week. I learned a lot, made me feel a little bit better, like I knew more than I gave myself credit for, honestly, but it was great training, great leadership there, so I'm very pleased to be able to bring a lot of what I learned back to the parish. Do you guys have questions for me?
I do, Ms. Hicks. How is your staffing looking? Are you looking good for the start of school? Are you
Really
short?
good.
Good.
Really good. In fact, if Ms. Page will let me hire one before school starts, I'm going to be great.
Good news.
Any closer wiring the backup generators?
We're kind of circling back on that. The initial plan that we had going is not great, but I am working with Mr. Shirley and Mr. Wascom on plans for that. I do have a little bit of surplus money that I think we can work with, so hopefully sooner than later. That's been a process.
Hurricane season is upon us.
It is. It is. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hicks. Item 6C, receive personnel report, Linda Page.
I don't have a lot to say that's different from last month's report, other than we are still working hard. Our numbers, our certified numbers are still going up. The people that we are now attracting, not that the others are bad, are quite amazing. The people who even turn us down say good things. So I just want to thank you for the new incentives, the new attitude, and all that good stuff. That's it. Look at the work. Look at the results. Do you have any questions?
Okay, any questions for Ms. Page?
Ms. Page, I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as aides, do you have enough aides to cover the teachers that need a help, that was asking for help?
But when you say enough,
I
we're
mean,
using this.
to assist the teachers in the classrooms.
We have some. Now, the enough part, I don't know if we're talking the same thing.
Okay.
We have what we set out to get. Yes, ma'am, and we have some people waiting if
Okay.
more are needed.
If more needed, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
And this is covering the schools that need CRR schools?
We have parents and tutors. I don't know what you mean when you say enough. Do you mean?
To cover I'm asking, we know that the CIR schools would be the priority as far as
Yes, ma'am.
paras and tutors. So that's what I was asking, or what, do you know, I have an idea if that would be sufficient number of people hired to cover the majority of school, the number that would be needed in the classrooms at those schools? Because I know the majority, especially I'm saying pre-K to 7th grade. I know that goes beyond, but we do need them in all those classrooms.
Okay, so when you say in all the classrooms, I can't say that we have one.
But we
in
would
every
hire
class.
as we can
Yes,
along the
ma'am.
way.
When the principals make enough noise, I probably will get in trouble for this, we listen. I'll just say that. When the principals say there is a true need there, because we have other people in place too who serve in a similar
Well,
capacity.
we know that there's a true need for them in the classrooms, as we're getting it from the field and from parents that are concerned that there is a need for tutors and paras in the classroom, because we still have an issue with failing students because the teachers are not able to handle the whole classroom and handle those kids that are academically challenged. And I know we have desk teachers and all of that, but we do need, and that's something we've been asking about, is to have those in there on a regular
Yes, ma'am.
basis for those classes where they're needed in CRR schools.
So I think the underlying tone here is that maybe teachers are reaching out to board members and maybe not their principal. Am I interpreting
Yeah.
your face well?
I'm just saying, when we say enough, my idea.
And there's
of
never
yeah,
enough,
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. We
Okay.
have parents and tutors at every school, and they're visited.
So would you encourage?
Each classroom is visited, but now if, are you asking, is there a para per each classroom? I can't say that. That belongs to each classroom? I can't say that.
Right, and I'm not asking that. I'm just trying to help this discussion along because we do have it every month.
Yes,
So would
yes,
it
we
help
do.
if the teacher spoke to the principals and the principals speak to
Yes,
Ms.
ma'am.
Page?
Absolutely.
The chain of command?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Ms. Page.
Mm-hmm.
6D, the maintenance report, Mr. Ryan Shirley.
Good afternoon, how are y'all?
Good.
Okay, a few things that we have going on right now. We actually have our parking lot, or the rest of it being saw cut to be repaired. We've got the bids on it, bids were approved. So hopefully we can get Miss Felicia a smoother ride into her bus barn instead of what we have. Central office, we've done some remodeling of some offices back in the back, and we have a few more left to go.
With our own brand-new maintenance crew.
Yes, we have been doing it, everything in-house, so everything that was done in-house. Clutcheville, they should be setting the temporary pole tomorrow, or between tomorrow and Friday. I haven't got a 100% definite answer on which day they'll be there. They just said between tomorrow and Friday. That way they can go ahead and get started doing the abatement, hopefully Monday of next week. At Natchitoches Central, our construction is getting close to the end.
Are you sure?
Yes,
Are you
yes,
sure
we're
about
supply chain issues is what's holding us up right now. So hopefully we can get some stuff in that we've been waiting on a long time. But it is coming to hopefully a close soon. Weaver, we actually have an AC issue. We've been having some power surges throughout the city. I don't know if it's because of the heat or actually what we're having. So it's surging just enough to knock some of our AC stuff offline. So they're actually looking into putting battery backups on everything to try to prevent that.
It's not tearing anything up. It just kicks it off just enough that it won't come back on. And then by the time somebody gets there the next morning, of course, it's done got hot in the building. So we're trying to have that totally done before school gets started. Let's see here. Okay. Gold on them. We actually have had some painters come out and do some quoting on some painting for Mr. Gardner. We should have the final quote on that tomorrow, and we can make our decision on who we're going to go with. Provençal, I actually have nothing to report on there, but they are starting their new basketball court as of Monday. So we will have our new basketball court for the children to play outside. Marthaville, we completed the library floor. We had to replace the whole entire floor in the library. We actually think we found the root cause of the moisture in the floor was from an old AC drain that actually didn't get away from the building. So it got clogged up and it was running back up under the building. So hopefully we've remedied that problem. We actually have taken all of them and run them out further away from the building now instead of just a couple of feet. We've actually run them 10 or 12 feet away from the building. NJH, we actually have started replacing some of the air conditioning issues with some newer models. Those models were so old we can't get parts for them anymore. So what we're doing is we're slowly replacing them as we do. We're robbing parts from the things we're taking out to keep everything else going because it is such an extensive project and it will be a lot of money in the end. Other than that, that's about all I have.
Okay, are there questions for Mr. Shirley? Yes, sir.
And it's not really so much for him. Reverend Harris, Mr. Shirley are going to start working on the field house, and Lee and him are going to start working on that to make sure that it's done before we have our first game at Lakeview.
Yes, sir.
They'll start working on it as soon as they can get it together.
Right. We actually have people coming to look at it. I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't enter. Look, I've done this report while I was in Gulf Shores on vacation. I'm sorry. But yes, we have some crews meeting us out there to look at it. We're going to do a lot of the work, but some of the work that we're having to do, we're actually going to have to get somebody to do. But I'm hoping that will start next week, early next week. So we hoping to have your field house up and going and looking brand new. Yes, sir. Which we won't have to sub. We shouldn't have to sub much out. Most of the things we should be able to do in-house. But there is a couple of issues that we may have to, just depending on the AC stuff, we may have to get Store involved for a little bit more on that. So just those kind of things, nothing major.
All that field and all that looks real good.
Oh, I know.
There's one little sore.
Yes, sir. I agree with you. I agree with you 1,000%. It does. It looks bad. Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Shirley. Okay. Item 6E, sales tax report, Mr. Lee Wascom.
You're going to put it up on the screen. Couldn't get the scrolling to work. Sales taxes are surprisingly up. They were 3% increase. Once again, last year was a big year. It's hard to beat big years, but this year, okay, go back up now. And, right, hang on, keep on going. Yep, keep on going. Right there. Okay, so you can see that the months of April and May were 3.45% increase, at the last column on the right. 3.08% increase, but June back up to 21% jump. I have no idea. I will tell you that I'm going to probably keep, I don't know how to judge, our economy right now. It looks like it's kind of, we have a couple of months that stop and then all of a sudden it takes off again. I don't know what causes all that. It's hard to predict. So I'll be on the conservative side when I'm making next year's budget. But anyhow, that's a very good report. So basically for the year, almost $2 million in additional collections over last year. It's a very significant amount of money. So that's my report on that.
Thank you, Mr. Wascom.
Let me go get it back.
Okay, item 6F, receive a budget update. Mr. Wascom.
See if I can manage this thing from here on out. Okay. Okay, into the third column is this year's column. One thing I'm very proud about is we gave all the teachers by state mandate, and they funded it. But we gave all the certified people in the district an $800 a year raise. And all the other staff, they were full-time, $400 a year raise. And with the efficiencies and some different things and changes that we made, we've actually lowered payroll a little over 100,000. Can y'all see that? Column 2 versus column 3 under salaries. And that I'm kind of proud of that. Also working with Miss Page on working, just trying to be more efficient with our staff. I think this is really good work. So this is a prelude to the salary raises we approved some months ago. This efficiency will hopefully continue on. And we're hoping to basically roll out these payroll increases and have similar type results. It won't be lower. I estimate payroll next year will be about $1 million higher than you see it at the end of this year. Okay, other than that, last year our collections were $44 million. This year they're $47 million. Expenses were almost $39 million. Our expenses this year are $41 million. There's an increase of about $400,000, $600,000 in the difference between these numbers year over year. So if you take the difference in revenue and the difference in expenses and compare them, it's about $600,000 better financial situation than the same time last year. Child nutrition. Once again, this is the end of May. This is not the end of June. End of June is going to be shocking, as it always is, because we not only have the June payroll, we have the July and August payroll gets posted into the month of June. So there's a $6 million difference. Trust me when I tell you that number will close really fast. It took a lot to get used to it last year. Still complaining about the software that manages it, though. Right now, child nutrition is showing about a little less than $300,000. Oh wait, almost a $400,000 profit. That will also go down a bit once again because we are paying her payroll for 3 months in the month of June because they are all 9-month employees. Title I, looking good. I know that the revenue at the top is not the same as expenses, but once the fiscal year ends, they will be. This has to do with delays in receiving money from the federal government or the state government, depending on which fund it is. Most of these Title Is are federal funds. ESSER the same way. This has to do with just delay in response. ESSER 2 here, I think that's it. Oh, we got ESSER 3. ESSER 3. Where is summer school out of? ESSER 3? Yes. Okay, so summer school costs us what, $2.8 million? No, $2.8 million. So these numbers are going to go up significantly just in the month of June. I mean, that's it. Summer school costs a significant amount of money because you're talking about paying all of those wages that are on top of what we normally pay people, as well as all the transportation and everything. ESSER fund paid for all of that. So that's it. Like I say, next month will be a bit more shocking because the gap is going to close between revenue and profit. But I'm still showing we should have a strong profit in the general fund.
Will you receive those ESSER funds in time?
Yes, what we'll do is we actually operate on the cash basis for 11 months of the year. And then in June, if we don't receive them till August,
ahead
we
and accrue 'em.
backdate it and create a receivable.
Okay.
So yes, they will get posted in this year. So once again, one of the things I had to get used to taking on the job. I'm used to accounts receivable always operational. We are doing better with our accounts receivables, but there's a significant amount of ESSER 3 money coming in from summer school. It's significant. And all our billing, we haven't billed. I think we just billed for our COVID leave just at the end of the month of June as well. All the COVID leave for the entire year was going to be reimbursed to us as well. And I think that's around $365,000 in COVID leave reimbursement. So ESSER funds will all pay for that as well. That'll reimburse payroll too.
Right.
Because we fronted the money, and then we send them a bill, and they reimburse on that. So that's it on this budget.
Okay, just to be sure we're on the same page, going back to the salaries, we're $100,000 to the good based on efficiencies and cuts.
Well, we didn't really cut anybody. We just became more efficient with
So just efficiencies?
just efficiencies.
Okay.
Yes, like there were times where we were just being more efficient with how we had people laid out in our master, what would you call it, master schedule?
Yeah, master schedules, just
This is
making
master
sure
schedule.
that you don't have classes where there's literally only 5 students in a class, that you're being more pragmatic with, we should have 18 students in a high school class instead of 5, things of that nature.
Well, the point I'm trying to make, that's so impressive. It was very quiet when you said that. That was very impressive. And thank you for your diligence in finding these efficiencies for us, because it does make a difference in the balance sheet.
Well, thanks.
So your hard work is very much appreciated.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's not just me. I would like to, Miss Felicia, Ben, and Miss Page, and Dr. Elo, all of us worked on that. It's a master plan to finally pull all that together.
Great job, team. Really great.
Because if you think about it, we raised payroll this year probably $350,000 just to cover the $800 increase. So it's not just this $100,000 savings. You'd have to add back to it to make it apples to apples. It's almost about a $450,000 to $500,000 worth of savings in payroll. So.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Item number 7, finance, facility, service, and insurance. Mr. Danzy.
Item 7A, permission to advertise for bids in that's Natchitoches Central High School digital signage, which
that would be me. I'm going to address y'all from back here if that's okay, because
Okay.
I'm flying solo tonight. The Natchitoches Central digital signage is at the request of Principal Coleman. Basically, he's looking to put some large display boards in their atrium there. We've tried to quote the process out and get it under that bid threshold, but it just doesn't seem feasible, especially with increasing prices. This will be paid out of Title I, but because we can't find any state contracts that would cover what he's looking for, we need to go through the bid process to keep it all legal with the federal programs.
So will those replace the TV screens that are in there now? Or the big, don't they have like a little screen?
They have one TV that is smaller than the one you guys are looking at.
Okay.
Hung up in that atrium. It kind of dwarfs things. Unless you're standing right under it, you can't really see it. So he's really looking for something that's kind of going to make that atrium a presentation area for the student body. It's been on his wish list for a while, and we're just trying to make it happen if he thinks it's going to make the school a better place.
So is this more for announcements, general information?
Announcements, general information, assemblies where there would be presentations for the whole, a large amount of the student body. Spirit Week,
There's also one other major piece of this. They now have a class that Coach Dana, I believe, where it's production. They put things
Media
together.
marketing
Media marketing classes, and they would use those to display their work. So say the football team does something great on a Friday, they would put together clips and all that, and then the class, their product they would then display for the student body during lunch and things of that nature. So it does tie back into this pathway for media marketing and all that fun stuff.
Any other questions? Item 7B, permission to advertise for bids technology truck.
Okay, so we spoke about this truck a long time ago, and it's been an ongoing process. Originally, we were going to purchase under state contract. When we went to purchase under the state contract, what we realized was that no one bid on the state contracts because the vehicle shortages were so low. Selling at fleet prices didn't make sense to the dealerships, so we couldn't find a vehicle under state contract. So we have to go through the bid process to go through a dealership that doesn't have a state contract in order to purchase the vehicle that was approved through ESSER that we had discussed, gosh, I want to say in March of this year. It's the same vehicle. We're not asking for another one. It's just been a headache with vehicle shortages. Any questions on that?
Yeah. Item 7C, take appropriate action on milk bid award for the 22-23 school year. I think Ms. Hicks, that's one of Ms. Hicks's items that she talked about earlier. Item 7D, take appropriate action on paper and cleaning products bid awards on 22-23 school year. And she also, related to those, would be on a, I believe, a line basis. 7E, minor salary schedule adjustments. Mr. Wasker.
Well, after all the work we did doing the salary schedule, we left off 2 people. Clerks at the high school, attendance clerks. They are nowhere on there. I could struggle to find them on the old one, but finally did on a page, on one of the back pages. Attendance clerk is not. We really need to have this column. It's the last column here on page 6. It's just an additional column I added to address that oversight. Also, in talking with Micah Coleman, we have decided it would be in our best interest to move the bookkeeper at Natchitoches Central from 11-month to 12-month. There's a minor adjustment in that pay for that, just to pay the person for an extra month's worth of work. So you roughly divide by 11 times 12, and that's it. And this is it. We're going to survive until next year. This is it. But I'm sorry about that, but it's just an oversight. I had no idea, because I really tried to look over everybody 2 and 3 times, but I actually had to go run around and ask what exactly is an attendance clerk, because I don't think they're on the salary schedule. So anyhow. So my request would be to please adopt with just this adjustment on page 6 of the salary schedule.
Just that change there, right?
Yep, that's it.
Item 7F, Canvas, April 30th, 22 returns.
After each election, we have to do a process called Canvas. It's just our acceptance of the results of the election, and that's what this is. The results of the election of the sales tax being passed on April 30th.
And I think we have to read this tonight and Thursday night. Is that correct?
Is that right?
Is that
Okay.
what?
Okay.
I think we do it just to be safe rather than sorry.
How much of it goes on for a while? Is it just the ordinance?
Yeah, I think it's just, I think it's just the ordinance is what I remember. Yeah.
It talks about the sales tax of 1%.
The bottom of the entire document? I remember this, but I can't keep up with what we do when we're announcing, then we vote on it, and then now this is the canvassing afterwards.
When we announce it, when we're proposing it, we talk about what we're proposing and what it's covering, and we're doing, right now, what we're saying is that we have looked at the results of it, and we're approving, and we're putting our stamp on the results of the election.
Right.
Do you want to pick it up from at the bottom of page, section 1, imposition? Is that where you suggest we pick it up, Billy? Section 1, imposition pursuant to the authority of the election. The tax is hereby levied upon the sale of retail and use in the lease or rental, the consumption and the storage for use, consumption of tangible personal property on the sales of services in the parish as defined by law. The Uniform Local Sales Tax Code enacted by Act 73 of the 2003 regular session of Louisiana Legislature, and as it may be amended, shall apply in the assessment, collection, administration, enforcement of the tax, the provisions of which are hereby incorporated by reference. The rate of sales tax, the tax is levied at the rate of 1% of the sales price of each item or article, tangible property, when sold at retail in the parish. The tax is to be computed on gross sales for the purposes of remitting the amount of the tax due to the parish, and to include each and every retail sale. The tax is levied at a rate of 1% of the cost of each item and article of tangible personal property when the same is not sold but is used, consumed, distributed, or stored for use or consumption in the parish, provided that there are no duplication of the tax. The tax is levied at the rate of 1% on the gross proceeds derived from the lease or rental of tangible personal property as defined by law, where the lease and the rental of such property is an established business, part of an established business, or the same incidental or germane to the said business, or of monthly lease, or of the monthly lease or rental price paid by the lessee or rentee, or contracted and agreed to be paid by the lessee or rentee to the owner of the tangible property. The tax is levied at a rate of 1% of the amount paid or charged for taxable services as defined by law performed in the parish.
Lee, where are you reading? Look at the very bottom.
To the very bottom of the entire?
Very bottom of the entire document. It summarizes everything that you're trying to say.
All right.
You would stop him after
I was
he read
actually
all
going to
that.
the sections.
Poor Lee.
You were doing so well.
I was like,
You should have said that 10 minutes ago.
where are we talking, section number?
Keep going.
Page 5 of 5.
Oh, good grief. Here we go.
Lee, please accept our apology.
I thought that's what
I'm sorry. I
Wait a
didn't know.
minute.
Well, I kept
So you were
scrolling.
talking about, I was going to the bottom of the page. You went to the bottom of the document. And I was like, okay. So this one right here, which says, the undersigned secretary of the parish school board, the parish school board of the parish of Natchitoches, state of Louisiana, the governing authority of the parish of Natchitoches, state of Louisiana, the parish, for school purposes, do hereby certify that the foregoing pages constitute a true and correct copy of the ordinances adopted by the school board on July 14, 2022, providing for the levy within the parish of Natchitoches, state of Louisiana, of a 1% sales and use tax upon the sale of retail, the use, the lease or rental, the consumption, or the storage for use or consumption of tangible personal property, and upon the sale of services in said parish, and for the assessment, collection, payment thereof, and for the dedication of the proceeds of said tax, and the purpose for which proceeds of the tax shall be expended. Said tax having been authorized at a special election held in the parish on April 30th, 2022. Whew.
Yeah, so if we put that ordinance on our website, then we're, this is certifying that this is what we're approving.
We're approving, right.
And we do have to read that Thursday night also.
We do read it again?
That's just the short version.
Yes.
Short version.
The very last
I'll
page.
read
Glad
the
to
first
do
nine.
that.
You want me to?
Let us be clear.
I will be glad to do that. So that's it on that.
Yes. Item 7G, budget revision.
Okay, so this is budget revisions that I have worked on for the year that ended June 30. Well, isn't it past the year June 30? Yes, it is. In talking to the legislative, the LDOE, it is very common to do a minor adjustment. Once again, as I mentioned about summer school and some of these last month expenses, they were overwhelmingly large. It's the largest summer school probably we've ever had. And some of this is being paid out of ESSER, some of the general fund had to kick in. So I'm finding it necessary to do another general fund, which you'll see in the first three columns, adjustments. And I'm adjusting the BRE funds in the three columns to the right. The first column is as it was, or is currently adopted. Let me make sure of that. Yes. Then the second column is where I would like to move the adjustments to, and then the net differences in the third column. I would like to inform you all that the local revenue is the sales tax increases, essentially, that I reported on earlier for the year ending. And then the second column, sadly, our MFP money had gone down fairly significantly. And then other revenues, as the total revenues in general fund only went up $374,000. However, we had to make adjustments in the other items and expenses. And so I present this as the last adjusted budget for June. I did speak to the auditor. She also agreed that this was proper to go ahead and do this in July. The other columns is a summary. Here we're actually in the negative. The reason for this is primarily Marthaville. Marthaville is spending a large portion of its reserves and its BREs, which is $4.3 million, and is doing a lot of renovations, $2 million worth of renovations, and they collect $1 million in BRE funds. So the net loss there is going to be about $1 million, and that's why you see under expenses in the very last column, you'll see expenses being a total of about $3,220,000 in expenses up, and the revenue is not in balance. These are fund balances. I do not have to balance to the penny. These balances just grow until now they're coming down a little bit. But most of this, almost all of this is Marthaville. We're a little bit going, we still have some reserves from past years in Provençal, but we are going to eventually have to address the situation with Provençal. It is underfunded. I cannot stress this enough. We only collect $115,000 a year in BRE funds, and they have, 500 students?
Right.
It's desperately underfunded, 400 and something. And it desperately needs more help financially as far as its maintenance of the facility. Mm-hmm.
Those funds that's being spent out at Marthaville, are those funds that prior to you getting there, it was already
It was in place.
and we were supposed to be fixing those things?
Yes.
Well, I discovered two things. We had 4.3 million, 4.2. In my first year, it actually grew to 4.3. But no repairs were actually being done. So here's the money that the community is giving to us, and we're actually not doing anything with it. So my idea was, let's get going. And let's fix the gyms. Let's get all the stuff fixed. Let's fix the floor in the library, which I think Mr. Shirley alluded to. Thank God that could have been a potential.
And Mr. Walsh,
Yeah.
I do want to point out that I think that was two things. That was you coming on, and also I think Miss Broadway has been pushing for a long time.
Right.
That's why I wanted to make that reference, to make sure that people knew that you were on your
Correct.
Right. These were
And-
much-needed projects where the money had been budgeted, but it was hard to get that ball rolling, and
It's been underway now.
and it's been going, and they've made tremendous progress out there, and it's been well worth the investment.
It has been right now we're completely revamping the baseball field. And the baseball field had a lot of problems. We're going to get that all fixed. It still has more to go. I will tell you the cafeteria is going to need some serious attention in the future. This has also been with Miss Broadway's working with the community. We actually got some input from the community as to what they felt were priorities as well.
Also, you mentioned about DRE, MF,
MFP funding.
MFP funding being down.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of us, probably next month, we want to address that because it's very important, especially at those outlying schools, that we address it to see what we either can do for those people to come back, whether it's from Marthaville, Fairview, all of those outlying, go down all those outlying schools. But if we don't purposely look at it, we're not going to be able to address it.
And I do want to say, Mr. Wascom, you pointed out about the cafeteria, but, that community too has faithfully voted for that BRE and supporting that community out there. The community wants to support that school, and they want to see these reconstructions. They want to see this investment in their community school. And so the money being spent there is money well spent and is as intentioned by those who voted for that BRE fund.
If y'all haven't been out there since our last town hall meeting, you should go. It's very different looking. I mean, it really looks good.
It's beautiful.
Mr. Wascom, one of the items, special education programs, and there's looks like a $450,000 decrease. What are some of the heavy hitters in that column on the variance there?
Yes.
Okay. On the variance.
One of the reasons Medicaid has not arrived.
Okay, so we're still waiting.
We're going to wait to get that in. They normally bring it in July, June. I didn't want to balance this budget based on something I didn't know whether it's going to. If it comes in July, I'm going to backdate it. We have as much as $800,000 potentially coming in there. But since it's to the positive, that would be a positive gain on and I don't have to report that. It's only when things are negative. But we got audited this year for Medicaid. It's actually, and also we tripled what we want to collect from them. So I knew it would kind of trigger an audit, and so we've got that. But anyhow, that audit has slowed down our reimbursement until it's complete.
Things were bumping along, you 63,000 pupil support services, but then when you get down to school administration, you got right at $250,000. What are some of the big areas in there?
Which now?
School administration, keep rolling down, about halfway in the page.
Yeah, that's a decrease, right?
That's correct, 245,000.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was bringing out about efficiencies of where we're. That's why we were working with master schedules really carefully, and just allowing us to not always jump on replacing everybody that may have left. Some of this is to natural attrition. So the question is if somebody,
yeah, just real quick, during COVID, we really didn't address. I'll give you an example. Middle Lab had. Some teaching spots that when they lost some students during COVID, we did not address the fact that those classes had gotten smaller. And, every year we do a staffing and we look at the numbers where they're at. Well, during COVID, we kind of held everyone harmless because they may only have 10 kids in a class, but how many of those kids were virtual? How many of those type things? So I think what you're seeing is this is the first year that we've been able to do a true staffing, and the numbers reflect. You also saw that MFP decrease. Well, if you see an MFP decrease and you see a student decrease, then your staffing has to somewhat kind of go along with that. It has to flex with that.
Just a lot lot to consider in the budget, and thanks for this detail.
Yes, sir. Is this a simpler way to provide this for you?
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's a better way to look at it.
Good.
And that concludes finance. Mr. President.
Thank you. Executive report, Beverly Broadway.
Item 9A, Direct Student Services, Ms. Pinkney.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
I'm here to talk to you a little bit about Direct Student Services, and this is a part of federal funding that it's required that we share out with the public what we're doing, how we did, what we're planning. So I'm just going to take about 2 or 3 minutes and run through some things, and if you have any questions, you can let me know. So what is Direct Student Services? It's geared more toward our CIRA and our URA students, our schools specifically, to provide services by way of courses, dual enrollment, industry-based credentials, where they wouldn't have had the opportunity to do it previously. So we decided this year to focus a lot of those efforts on our high schools, and I'm very pleased to share some of our results. We wanted to really attack CLEP. I know you guys have heard us talk about how important dual enrollment is. I know you are very familiar with the state's initiatives with dual enrollment. So we wanted to find ways that our students could gain dual enrollment credit as quickly as possible. So we focused a lot on CLEP. And through Direct Student Services, we were able to fund our CLEP exams for our students. Students did not have to pay this year for any CLEP exam. Our students also did not have the opportunity to use student internships. We only had one this year, so that's of course going to be one of our goals at the end for students to really start taking advantage of internships. Internships that we are in fact able to offer within our own district. Thankful to a lot of you who have helped with these internships in the past, including food service. Cost of our student credentialing exams. These funds helped cover those, so students are not having to come out of pocket to actually pay for their own industry-based credential. And of course, dual enrollment, tuition at no cost to our students. So as a result of our efforts this year, more than 41 scores of 50 plus on our CLEP exams, that was resulting in about 130 hours of college credit for students in our parish. Increased enrollment in AP courses, and then of course more than 300 students, 300 enrollments participating in tuition-free dual enrollment. That was through our CLTCC, which is now officially BIPSI and NSU. And then of course looking forward, we of course are really hoping to increase our AP results. We want to be able to baseline that this year and really determine where our students are. We want to increase CLEP, want to do a lot more with that, but this year our schools are going to have their own CLEP test centers so that they can do CLEP as often as they choose, so students are not having to come here to the district CLEP test center. I think I told them at the last test we took, I said the NPSB CLEP testing center is closed. So schools can have access to be able to test their own students, and then we're not having to think about the transportation, particularly for our students at Lakeview having to come over here to get their testing done. They can do it right there. Of course, continue to increase our dual enrollment so that students are closer to earning those technical diplomas and/or associate's degrees. We want to utilize our summer, and we've already started that, with training our teachers to become more certified in our industry-based certifications that will lead to greater results in our career and technical world. And then lastly, increase student opportunities to, of course, earn those credentials. We're training the teachers so that the students can earn the credentials. And thank you. That concludes Direct Student Services.
Just to piggyback on that, I can tell y'all every result you saw, which is fantastic. I'm telling you, based on what Ms. Pinkney's invested in, the infrastructure she's creating for this, you're going to see those numbers, and she'll get nervous when I say this, but I believe it's the case based on what the work she's done. You're going to see those numbers skyrocket, and I do believe we're doing the work now where in 2 years you're probably going to see an accountability shift in the state. Not probably, you're going to. We're going to be ahead of the curve based on really the work that she's doing with the high schools to prepare us for that inevitability.
We spoke earlier about moving into the junior highs, and so next year, what are our target groups to make sure parents fully understand what the programs are and how they can be obtained?
So there's a few things I'd mention in that vein. First off, I think we gave y'all initially, we were supposed to roll something out last week. The only reason it wasn't rolled out is we had a few sick staff members, and their piece was integral to the rollout. So I think we're rolling out first of next week.
Yes,
With our big push on dual enrollment and all this. And really, I know you asked about junior high, but what this is we feel very passionate that we can put this stuff out to the kids, but we all have our our own experiences with kids, or when we were kids. The parents have to be empowered to know this stuff. So part of this is getting this out to elementary, junior high parents so that they're thinking about these things. I mean, I have a 6th grader, and we're already thinking like, we took her home from the hospital last week, and now 3 years from now she's going to be a 9th grader. That we know these things beforehand. We're also looking at doing some stuff with the junior high. Specifically, we're talking about career and technical stuff here, where we would do a junior high camp to really expose those students. I think we saw an example of another parish has done this already, and we kind of want to co-opt that because it's just a great idea, where we do some exposure at the junior high level to where they're already thinking that. Because as I told you before the meeting yesterday, we met with Roy Martin and his Woodworks program. And we very much believe, as does he, that the Woodworks program is really for those 10th, 11th, 12th graders. But you want a kid in 7th grade hearing about a job you can get making $18 an hour with benefits. Starting, yeah, and within 6 months you're probably already, I mean, the ability to advance, and we want those kids, it ingrained in them where they're saying, you know, hey, college might not be my thing, but I know I can go starting off, by the time I'm 20, I can be making $60,000 a year at Marco or at Weyerhaeuser or all these different places in town, because college is not the goal, career is not the goal. The goal is for every student when they leave us to be prepared for something post-secondary. And that has to start, I think it even starts as early as maybe 4th or 5th grade, thinking about those things, because, you know, you snap your fingers and it's here.
I think I'm on the agenda for number.
Yes, item 9B, the NSU MOU for the 2022-2023 school year.
If there are any questions, just let me know. This is our typical MOU for the year for dual enrollment.
Thank you. Item 9C, Old Gorham School, in agreement with Natchitoches Parish Council. Board members Danzy, Harris, and Metoyer.
I'll pick it up and tell us how we got where we're at. First of all, I got a call from someone up from Gorham. Immediately I called Mr. Metoyer. Then I called Mr. Danzy about it. In terms of, I got a call that came in from our parish president, that then I asked him about the situation, and the best that I knew to do, along with the other board members, is to put it on the agenda so that we could see exactly where we were at with this particular situation. And so that's where we're at right now, trying to see where we're at with this, and I guess the parish president is here now. He could actually address it, and then if there's anyone else, I guess, can speak on it.
We have our attorney here also.
Yeah, can anyone frame what we're talking about right now? Just, what is it? Someone wanting to lease property, sell property? They want a dumpster
Well,
there? What's going on?
Well, it has to do with some people in the Gorham area, or well, the parish wanting to put a man dumpster out that way. And I'm not sure exactly why it can't be done.
Well, at present, there is a dump site on a hill in that area. It's also visited by Rapid Parish, which I go there, I know, I see it, and we got some people here from, that know. It's not unusual to go by there and it's stuff scattered everywhere. I mean, that's just facts. So that's what this is about.
I'll be more than happy to plug whatever gaps.
Sure.
Could you please come to the podium?
Good evening. Thanks for allowing me to be here. Before I address that, very quickly, I would like to backtrack for just a moment on the Marthaville School. I'm very happy about those improvements out there. And, you know, even though I don't attend every meeting, I certainly watch every broadcast I can, and I keep up with the reports. It's very helpful that you guys have those kind of discussions like you had, and you push these projects forward, because that enables me to go work with the state. And as you may or may not know, Highway 120 has been pushed up, not pushed back as so many things are. That's going to get fixed basically from Roebeline to the parish line, which will of course enhance the transportation to that school. Highway 6 from the interstate going out to Roebeline, it's going to get fixed. Those are things that are in the works right now that over the next couple of years will even make that area more appealing to people who are interested in moving to the rural parts of the parish. So thank you for your efforts. I appreciate that. It's also good to have that information so we can work with the state and federal folks to help push projects around where it will benefit the most. So thank you for doing that. Let me jump to this topic, if I may, and fill in some, I'll give you a rough timeline and summary. Exactly what you just said, Mr. Danzy. We have a site. I just went out there today to see if it had changed any at all. It's very close to the highway.
Right.
There's about 5 or 6 dumpsters out there. It's not fenced in. When we talk about a controlled site, we don't talk about it being just fenced in. We want to have a person there that mans the gates, open the gates, monitors, make sure there's no one. I mean, we're talking about solid waste, so let's just go ahead. No dumpster divers, no people throwing trash in the ditch. You know, they're there to monitor and control those things. It is an uncontrolled site, easily one of the worst in the parish because it is visited by other people from outside our parish. And I'm no judgment on them, but for some reason they take less care of other people's things than their own. And so it's in a very dangerous part of the highway too. I said it's very close, but it's so close in fact that whenever they come to empty the dumpsters, the waste management folks, they're only about 5 or 6 feet off the highway. So about 2.5 years ago, and I looked back and I just couldn't believe it had been this long. About 2.5 years ago, we started looking for another place to put a controlled dump site that would be closer in for the people, and it would also be not as close to the parish line. So we moved it about, I guess it's about 3 or 4 miles, and it's in the Gorham area. And we started to look for a site in that general area. And some things happened. Here's what happened. Once again, no pride, no ego, and also no shame in admitting what's happened. So we engaged the community to look for a spot. Who would be willing to either lease or donate an appropriate amount of space to get that dump site moved, get it closer to the community, and a place where we would have enough room to fence it in, man it, control it, keep it clean. And we were approached by the Gorham Community Center. So we did the usual due diligence that we do. We went through with them, negotiated a contract for that ability to be able to move onto that property. We did that, and then it was brought to our attention that they were not in good standing with the Secretary of State. So we stopped the process. We told them, hey, look, go out, take care of your business. When and if you do, we're going to start looking for other places, but if you do get all that back in order shortly, we'll be glad to take another look at it. They did. They went back, got themselves current, and I don't know if any of you, I'm sure some of you own businesses and have had to keep yourself current with the Secretary of State. It is not uncommon at all for that to lapse. So we granted them that grace period, and they went out and they got it, and we stopped all work. They came back. That obstacle was done. That was approximately in the April 2020 time range, heading into the summer, somewhere around in there. Then there got to be a little bit of consternation in the community whenever they realized, because they saw some fence posts going up in that area. And so some folks brought it to our attention that they did not want it there. And so we had about that time, we were in the midst of COVID. Supply chain issues, contractor issues hit, so we basically just kind of slow-boated that process and waited to see what would happen. It wasn't what I necessarily wanted to do, but we couldn't even get the fencing we needed to fence it in. So the fence posts are still up there today. They've been concreted in, and we're ready to go. So we got through the issue and over the hurdle of the Gorham Community Center group being in good standing with the Secretary of State. March forward a considerable amount of time, and we're getting ready to go again. Supply chains kind of eased up a little bit, and we essentially get from, I don't know if this has been provided to you, Mr. Stamey can certainly talk to the legalities and logistics surrounding a document that came from, how do you pronounce it, Berthard or Berthard? Berthard and Berthard LLP, representing some folks who were opposed to the bin site being relocated in front of the old Gorham School at the community center. Essentially, what their basis for that consternation was and that complaint was that there was a quitclaim deed in 1985 whereby the school board transferred ownership for $50 to the Gorham Community Center. And there is a clause in that contract, in fact, it's very close to the end. If you don't mind, I'll just quote it to you. It's very short. It's item number 1 on the last page before the signatures that says, it is understood that this property is to be used, I'm going to correct a misspelling, a grammatical error here, as a community center, and should it cease to be used for such purposes, or should the Natchitoches Parish School Board need the property for the use of public school systems, title will revert to the Natchitoches Parish Public School System, to the school board, I'm sorry, at the same cost as was paid by the Gorham Community Center. That was the $50 I mentioned before. And the Gorham Community Center agrees to cooperate and take all reasonable action necessary to see that title does properly revert. As soon as we got that letter, we stopped again. And we truly feel as though we have a good lease to go forward, but this made us pause and come to you guys and say, okay, it doesn't say it can't also be used as a controlled bin site, but it does say if you want it back, you can, we call that a clawback clause. You can claw it back and take it. So I asked, do you want it? Because if you don't, we feel like we've got a pretty decent lease and we could probably legally march forward and do that bin site. That doesn't say that we won't listen to the concerns of the people, but I at least wanted to clear this part of it up with the school board.
And that was the original lease, right? When they originally
Well,
leased it?
actually, this wasn't a lease. This was a quitclaim deed. This is where you transferred the ownership
Right.
of the property to the Gorham Community Center. And it's been theirs ever since, and honestly, probably out of sight, out of mind, forgotten. And I don't know that you want it back, but I think that, you know, it would certainly help the efforts and clear the air if we knew where you stood on it.
All right, our attorney is here, I guess.
I'm happy to come address a few comments. 37 years ago, we transferred this property from the school board's ownership and responsibilities to the Gorham Community Center. We do not own this property. We do not have the legal right to tell anyone what to do with this property, nor do we want to be involved in the process of telling anyone what to do with this property. While I sympathize from a personal standpoint, as we all do, about wanting to help
Mr. Richmond with regard to this issue, because it seems like it's something that would be beneficial to the community and generally consistent with the goals of what we would want any property we donate to a community-oriented entity to do good for the community, and this would certainly provide that. I don't think it's our call, and it's really not our fight. And if there's an interpretation of whether or not this would meet with a consistent function of that original deed, then that's something I think for the courts to decide. They have entered into a lease with the Gorham Community Center, and that lease is valid until someone says it's not. And again, that's not our fight either. So with all due respect, I think the process should be let them proceed through the parish government with this lease and enforce the process of putting the bins, if that's what they wish, on that property. Then if someone wants to challenge that, we think it's something that they would have to challenge in the courts. We don't own it, we don't want it, and we don't want to get involved in their business, and that would be my strong recommendation.
So your recommendation of our action is no action?
No action, because 37 years ago, we donated this property, and for us to get back into that business, what kind of Pandora's box is this going to open up for all the other properties that we donated? We have to be very careful about that, and we have to be consistent. So, and I understand that this could require some guidance from the courts eventually for the parish government as it relates to the future use of that property. But generally speaking, I think it's a legal issue for a court to decide whether or not this particular proposed use for a portion of that property is consistent with the original deed. If this board's ever asked by the court or otherwise whether or not it is a position that this board wants to take to either ask for that property back or to dictate terms specifically on its use, I would suggest that would require further consultation and review by the board. But for now, that's not our fight. The clawback doesn't kick in unless we have a problem with it.
Unless
we
we
don't have
initiate some activity, is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If we don't have a problem with it, then I don't think it's something that we should be in the business of getting involved in. And certainly we can provide personal support for what Mr. Richmond wants done. It seems like a good thing for that community. But that's a personal perspective that I think some of us may have versus something we can take from an official position.
And that community group is still active, right? And
that's correct.
And they entered into a contract with the parish.
That's correct. As I appreciate it, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, this entity agreed to lease the facility and the premises for a portion of it at least for this need that you have.
That is correct.
And at this point in time, it would appear that he has the right to enforce
what
the use of that lease. And, but I don't think that we should be in a position to interpret whether or not that use somehow is inconsistent with the original quitclaim deed.
Absolutely.
And if a court is asked to do that, and one or more of us are asked to come give testimony about our position on that, then that'll be for that day.
Right.
But not for us to take action on. Because unfortunately or fortunately, we have other properties that we've donated that are in a similar circumstance for which a similar request could be made down the road. And I think we have to make sure we're uniform with regard to how we handle these matters.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Sure, absolutely.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Richmond. That was very accurate, the background. And I'm Mark Carey. I live in the community, and I have noticed the eyesore that it is, and that's why I'm here. I'm just a concerned citizen along with these people here. So basically, the community is looking for courses of action that are viable they could take. One, obviously, would be put it there on the school board, the previous school board property, now the community center. Another is where it currently is. If somehow Royal Martin were to donate the land or something, maybe we could get it set back and possibly fence it in and have it manned, which is really the real thing we're trying to do because we're preventing the trash from being strode and people from diving. People are going into it and dumping it out, getting what they want, but they're not putting it back in. And so we're spending more time. Every day I have to pick up along the highway, and I find that's my job now. I don't. But what I wanted to ask was that the clawback clause, I mean, the school board has no intention for pulling these properties back? Because I know it's been since 1983 since this originally was signed, and nothing really has been done except a portion of the land of the fire department, the volunteer fire department is on it, which is very great use for it. I'm now a member of the volunteer fire department. Every time I stop, I seem to join a new thing. All right. But I want to make sure, because if we happen to actually improve it, I mean, we don't want to anticipate that, the school board say, hey, I like that, I'll take that back. That's probably, I know you have properties throughout the parish.
Yeah, and there's no intention.
No intention, okay.
No intention to take that back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And let me just say this, if someone from there hadn't contacted me, I wouldn't have contacted these guys, because we just want to know where we need to stand on this issue.
And I appreciate you bringing it up.
Right.
I really do.
Yeah, because the board didn't know anything about it.
Because what the majority of the people, just a couple of them out there, don't do.
The people that live right across from it,
Yeah.
they think it won't look good, but if they look at the other places around the parish, they're well maintained. You could even obscure it from visibility by a hedge or something. You could do all sorts of things. But it's only just one family.
So what, they have filed a suit to stop it?
My understanding, Mr. Richmond could probably explain, but there was a letter by an attorney sent to.
Yeah, essentially, it was a cease and desist letter that just said, hey, stop, because of this quitclaim deed, we want to clear this up. And so we did. It was mentioned just now about the fire department. And the fire department sits mostly on an adjacent piece of property right next door to it, but it actually, according to the tax assessor's map, it actually overlaps onto this property. So the precedent's kind of already been set that it's not just community center where the old school was. It's got a fire department that kind of encroaches on it and has a right-of-way and easement there. In fact, you enter in to a driveway that's mostly on the property that's in discussion here. It's kind of a way to unify some parish services in the community. Now, I understand nobody wants to have a bin site in their front yard. I get it. I get it. The intention is not to put something like what is down the road 3 miles or 4 miles and to move that situation into the Gorham community. But it is to put it closer for a couple of reasons. The biggest one really is the people from outside our parish that dump deer carcasses, household trash in the dumpsters or close to the dumpsters, and then somebody comes along at night and throws all of it out of the dumpsters and gets what they want, but doesn't put anything back in. We're just trying to put it in a place where it can be seen, but it won't be an eyesore. If that takes some little bit of improvements around it to make it a more hospitable site, I'm sure the parish government and the fire department would probably look into doing those things. While I certainly don't have that authority to state it, but I can tell you that the idea is to make it a more hospitable place, a place where people can get to it easier and more safely, and it can also be monitored and watched by a parish employee during the open hours. So I didn't mean to take the mic back over.
Because what I was wanting to say that, if the majority of the people out, Gorham on it and you got the lawsuit, why not start a petition and get all the people to sign it? And if the majority of the people sign it, I don't see where a judge would rule into 4 or 5 people if you got 50 people wanting the thing in the community.
Well-
That would be, I think, before y'all go to court, get a petition and start getting the signature in that community, and when y'all go to court, y'all would have that.
And I kind of think, though, really honestly, it kind of goes back to exactly what you just said. This really is more of a community issue rather than a school board issue at this point, according to our lawyer.
And Bethard actually provided a petition to me of people who signed on against it. Now, I don't know if that's been validated, and I'm not getting all of that, but, it was a couple of pages of people who had, a page and a half maybe, who had gone through and said they didn't want it. Now, I didn't know if they were fully informed. It was just attached to that document from Bethard and Bethard. We've got a lease from someone who at last check was in good standing with the Secretary of State. You know, I'm certainly willing to do whatever I can to work things as easily as we can with the community. But at the end of the day, it's our job to provide solid waste services as reasonably close to a community as we can, and as safely and in a health-conscious way. Also make sure we monitor it and keep things on the up and up.
May I make a suggestion, just as a suggestion, because I'm from that area, so I know it very well. It appears that it's very close to the road, and those people's houses are on the opposite side of the road, which is not much difference. I think if it could be put further back, and we had the same problem in Provençal when we put one. I live in Provençal now. So we had the same problem there from where it is, and people were against it, but once they found out it's in the same place you put it there. So it works, and it's clean, and it's cared for. And I think that's something that maybe if it was pushed back away from the very near, back on the back side of that.
The only issue there, truly, the only issue, and the reason it is where it is to make sure that there was still access to that old community center, the old school, what's left of it anyway, back there.
I don't think there's much left.
The front part of it's just all gone. It's torn down.
Yeah,
It doesn't
right.
exist anymore.
There's a.
And the structure is actually further back. So the idea was to stay away from that footprint of that original school, even though part of it is demolished, because if there was ever any chance to do anything with that property, I'd hate for somebody to say, we'd love to have parking in front of our community center, but we can't because there's a trash bin there. It was a trade-off.
I see that we did originally have this on our agenda, but it does become apparent this is really a great discussion for the community to have.
It is.
Right.
It is.
And-
But that's why it got on the agenda, to see who needs to discuss what.
Right.
And now that it has been clarified, that Mr. Richmond, the parish government, along with the community, I think, and now if y'all want me to come and referee, I will, but I think it's on you all.
This helps a lot, because I'll tell you, while I certainly can't commit the finances of the parish government without talking and having validation from our parish council, I can tell you this. This discussion and your choice to have no action on it clears up a lot of things that were murky. Now it can truly be a conversation between the parish government and the community. And I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
for coming.
Thank you. Item 9D, quarantine policy update, Dr. Eloy.
Yes, ma'am. Last month, Ms. Broadway, you asked for a third option for those students who did not want to test or mask, and so we put that in there. But I also had Miss Lauren Grivenberg, our COVID nurse, review the policy, and she, after much discussion and research and looking at the CDC's updates, we had to add a fourth option. So the four options now, and this is for quarantine, the first option is for students who are fully vaccinated or have had COVID-19 within the last 90 days. They don't have to quarantine at all. They just have to mask for 10 days while at school. The option 2, which is considered the safest protocol by CDC, that's where you quarantine at home for 5 days, and then you return home on the 6th day, as long as you're not showing symptoms. But you still have to wear a mask for days 6 through 10. Option 3, that's the test to stay at school option, where you can use an at-home test or go to the doctor. I know a lot of people, when they saw this initially, they said, I can't afford to go to the doctor. This can be the free at-home tests that are very reliable. As long as you mask for the entire 10 days, and then on day 1 and 3 or days 2 and 4, you test negatively, then you can also not quarantine. And then finally, it's where you do not quarantine. You stay home because you are making a personal choice not to mask or test. And if that's the case, then we would provide either access to work or the ability to make up work upon returning. So there's a lot of options. I know everyone's all over the map on how they feel about COVID, especially at this point. But I feel as though while still being consistent and adhering to CDC guidelines, which we have been very consistent about. This gives people options, and so this is a more robust version of that policy that we presented a month ago.
Any questions? All right, let's move to item 9E, COVID-19 testing.
Correct. Every month we change in how we adapt and respond to COVID. This year we've had a very successful COVID-19 testing program. It's all voluntary. Parents have to sign off. I personally signed off for 2 of my children, but not my third because he would not have allowed someone to stick something up their nose, or his nose rather. A lot of our personnel really appreciate it. I know in this office we probably have over 60% of people who test on a weekly basis, myself included. This is, again, voluntary, but I wanted to bring it before the board to get your stamp of approval to continue it into this next year, because I know there are a lot of passionate thoughts on this. It will continue to be something that people can opt to be paid for. This prior year they were paid per test. This coming year they're doing it a little differently. Once you hit 10 tests, they will pay you, I believe, $100. So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, but it is still being paid, which I know for some folks is controversial. So again, I wanted the board to be able to weigh in on this before we continued with them. Yes, we did receive as a district $257,000, which we were able to, any employee that was a part of the program in terms of implementing it, we were able to, what's the word I'm looking for here, Lee? We were able to refund the general fund. Yeah, refund the general fund for their activities during the time period they were doing this. So, whether we talk about health or finances, it has benefited the district.
All right. Any questions? All right, that concludes the executive report.
Okay. Any other business to come before the board before we adjourn? Meeting adjourned.